Hi there, I'm Peter Llewellyn from NetworkPharma TV, and this is one of my so-called unscripted conversations, as I call them, where I get to chat to folks who I think have something interesting to share. So let's see what we learned today. I'm joined by Nick Lamb. Thank you very much for joining us, Nick, who's just won the Progress Award in Healthcare and Scientific Communications at the Communique Awards 2025, run by the PM Group. I had to read that out to make sure the title was correct, Nick. I've known you for a while, Nick, as a long-standing medical writer. You seem to have turned yourself into a tech entrepreneur recently, and I'm interested to explore that journey. But can you start by just introducing yourself in your own words, and basically who you are, where you are, how you got to the stage that you're at, and then we'll go from
Sure.
there.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Thank you. Okay. So, yeah, my name's Nick Lamb. I'm currently a freelance medical writer working at AstraZeneca. But yeah, I've been a medical writer for about 25 years. And my route into that, I guess, is fairly traditional. I did a PhD, but got kind of sick of working in a lab quite quickly. And then I went into publishing, working at Biochemical Journal and also Nature. And I was involved in help setting up Nature Reviews journals. But after that, I was approached to work in healthcare advertising. And so since then, I've been, yeah, working as a medical writer. Pretty much, I went freelance quite early and moved out of London. And yeah, I've been living in kind of Oxfordshire area ever since as a freelancer.
Okay, and take it a little bit further. So, as I say, medical writer turned tech entrepreneur. I think I'm right in saying you got involved quite early on when sort of like ChatGPT was sort of hitting
Yeah.
everybody's radars, but you started playing with a number of tools and so on. So, for the last 18 months or so, I think you've been playing with that sort of activity.
Yeah, well, this is interesting because it was actually one of your webinars that kind of turned me on to
Right,
ChatGPT.
right.
I mean, it came out in November 2022, and then you had a webinar in 2023 with, I
In
think
the
it was
January, yeah,
Martin,
yeah.
yeah, Abhishek and Stephen Mott
Yeah.
and Katja as well. And yeah, that just really kind of is when I started to think maybe there's something in this. And yeah, pretty early on, I thought that maybe this is something medical writers could use to help kind of speed up their work. And often what we're doing is adapting text for different audiences. And so that was one of the first things that I learned how to do in a web app using AI.
Right. And again, you produced a couple of tools quite quickly, didn't you? I mean, I'm heading in the direction of the tool that you won
Yeah,
the award for, but just give us that little bit of a clue
yeah,
as to what
exactly.
else you.
So one of the things you have to learn is about APIs. So OpenAI, who make ChatGPT, they have an API, and once you know how to kind of attach that to your tool, you can then call on ChatGPT every time you make a request. And so the very first tool, which is now called Elementor, basically the idea was to you paste in some medical text, and then it calls OpenAI, and then it basically adapts it to all the different audiences like child, doctor, nurse, pharmacist, specialist, payer, MSL, and I found that tool, yeah, it seemed to work really well. And so once I had that back end, I can then use that in other tools. And so this is web apps I started with. And then I moved on to making mobile apps. And the first app I made was Patiently AI, which uses a similar backend. And the whole idea of the app is to, if a patient is at a consultation with the doctor and they're finding it hard going because the average reading age in the UK is actually only 9 to 11 years. So the app can either record the conversation with the doctor, or they can upload their medical notes, and then it adapts it to different ages, different tones, like can be confident or reassuring. And then it also can translate it to 11 different languages. So the idea was to take what I'd done in a web app and put it into a mobile app that a patient could just take with them to the doctor.
Okay, and that Patiently AI
Yeah,
is the one you won the award for, yeah. So let's just
that's
sort
correct.
of focus on
Yes.
that for a minute. So just tell us a little bit about the background to the awards. I find it fascinating. You I guess you submitted it for an award,
Yeah.
and the Communique Awards are quite a big show. So
Mhm.
had you done it before? What was it like if you hadn't? And
Yeah.
just talk us through the experience and the process of going for it and ultimately winning.
So I'd never done a Communique Awards before. I'd done some smaller awards that are you just basically submit your entry and then they let you know a few months later. But with the Communiques, it's a much more involved process. There's a big application form to start with. And then if you get through to that stage, you then there's like a panel of 8 judges that kind of quiz you. You have to pitch to, and then if you get through that stage, you get to the night, but you still don't know if you've won or not.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's a really big event in Park Lane in London. So yeah, I've never been before, and yeah, it was a really good night. I didn't think I was going to win at all because I found out in my category was Pfizer and AstraZeneca, and also the host Vernon Kay. He said he sort of made a joke at the beginning like only the winners will be that they'll the front tables basically, and I was sat right at the back, so I thought,
all
oh
right.
god. But no, there we go. It was announced about halfway through, and I walked up and got the award.
Fantastic. Again, let's just dwell a little bit more on the process. So,
Hmm.
um, you went through, you submitted the award, you had to talk to a bunch of judges.
Yes,
But I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense of just how much work this was. I think you put together a pitch presentation, which I think you've actually shared on
that's right.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Was there any guidance in terms of what you needed to do, or were you flying blind?
Not really, but I mean, I think this is where I used AI to help me, definitely to use
Ah,
lots of different tools in the process. So, like designing the deck, I used Gamma, which is like an online tool for creating nice interactive decks. I use something called Flow Width, which is really nice. It's like a canvas multi-agent tool, and it might sound like I'm gaming the system, but what I did was in my entry. Um, that they told me who the judges were going to be, so I put all those names in, and then I put in the website from the app. I just put lots of source material in, and it had to think for about an hour, and it turned out it's incredible actually. A really detailed kind of attack plan for the day for the pitch, and so I was able to create a deck from that. It suggested questions. It looked into the judges and looked at their backgrounds and suggested what they might
really?
ask. It turns out they didn't ask any of those questions, but it did help me kind of prepare for
Yeah.
the eventualities because it's okay to rehearse your presentation, but you can't really anticipate questions all the time.
But it's interesting what you're saying there. So, I mean, you're walking the walk apart from anything else. You're using AI to,
Yeah.
um, but it makes you think about the process and maybe in a different way than you would have done normally, and prepare you and so on. I think that's just interesting. It's often, we're all talking about AI as an assistant now, rather than just the answer or the person that, or the thing that gives us an answer, sort of thing, which I think in itself is interesting. Did just being slightly flippant about it, but did you tell the judges that you'd used AI to research their backgrounds?
I didn't mention
You
that part.
didn't. Well, they now know. They might not know if they're
Yeah.
not watching this. And so okay, and I guess an obvious point is it an obvious point? I mean, I've always seen the Communique Awards as being very much about the bigger, or not the big
Mm.
agencies, but it's very much the agencies and companies and so on. I'm not aware of another freelancer having put in for an award, let alone won an award. I'm sure there have been, but it's unusual anyway. But I think one of the things I sort of thought was it's nice to see a freelancer going in for something like that and winning, because it's sort of a bit of a flag bearer for freelancers and all the amazing things that they can do. Um, so having said that, it was quite an onerous process. There was a cost involved. I mean, would you be encouraging of other freelancers to get involved in something like this?
I think if you have a really good idea, I would definitely say, because I think the idea is more important than the execution. And the execution you can improve or get to a pretty good level just using all those AI tools that I
These tools.
mentioned. So definitely, yeah, I think I've proved that it is open to everyone now. It's
Yeah.
not, and I thank the judges as well for that. So definitely have a go.
I think that's a good thing, and I suppose we're a week on from the award, so I guess you've recovered from the night itself. But I mean, what I suppose what are the benefits? What do you think might be the benefits, or have you already had the phone call? We see that what just give us a bit of a sense of where we're at. I know it's only a week or so after the award, so
I think I think generally I'd say that awards are sort of a means to an end. They're not. I don't think they should be the goal for writers or creative teams or agencies, to be honest. I think the real, I think it's all about having impact, because my tool was designed to help patients who have difficulty understanding their doctor. So that was my idea. And I think awards are nice, but I think ultimately that's all they are, really.
okay, fair point. Although it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think
Yeah.
so okay, but okay, let's we've got the award, you've got yourself some attention and so on. You've been developing a couple of other tools in the background, I
Yeah.
know. And so, are you now tech entrepreneur, or are you medical writer, or are you still mixing the two? How do you see
Yeah,
the
so I'm
coming
still
months?
medical writer. That's my day job, and then the side project is the AI. But I'm happy to keep it like that. Or yeah, if the AI side took off more, that would be amazing too. Yeah.
And so let's just talk generally, because you're obviously quite well placed to look at how the industry is using AI and the
Yeah.
sorts of ideas that are coming through. So do you want to just have a few minutes just telling us what you're seeing on the horizon?
Sure, certainly. So I would say I think the job of a medical writer will change very quickly. Um, at the moment, no, in the past we were kind of told to stay in our lane, perhaps just be a medical writer, and that's all you would do, and then you'd retire, and that would be it. But I think now, using AI tools, you can do some design work. Designers can do writing work. Um, Definitely more strategy involved. Um, so I think there's a kind of a blending of roles that it's not going to be so siloed anymore. I also um, I know that large pharmaceutical companies are investing heavily in AI, and one of the ways this is going is that I should think pretty soon everyone's going to have their own AI agent working with them. And it doesn't take too much of a leap to imagine a time when those agents will be doing more and more work, and perhaps the writers or whatever they've become will be doing less, and a multi-agent approach will start to have a big impact.
Do you think that you said will change? Do you think those changes are already happening, or
There's a heck of a lot happening in the background that maybe people aren't aware of. So I think it's kind of in the next 2 years, perhaps. I think that there'll be a big sea change.
one? I've just double checked. I'm right when I'm saying this, but I just double checked your LinkedIn page. So I noticed that you're now calling yourself a prompt engineer. I mean, is that terminology in medical writing type circles? Is that a terminology that is really coming in?
So that's just like a separate job that I do. It's sort of
Oh, I
looking
see. Sorry. Okay.
for, yeah, it's looking for weaknesses in large language models when they struggle with reasoning. So the idea is that you create these prompts that it and then you try and make it create an incorrect answer, and then you keep rewording the prompt until they get it right, and then these large companies can use that to rework their kind of master code and get the prompts working properly.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I see. So that you've got a very
Yeah,
specific sort of like um, role in there. So, okay.
I
But
mean
as a
that
general, sorry, go on.
yeah, that prompt engineering was a huge thing a couple of years ago, but I think it's
Exactly. Yeah.
becoming a bit more important again as people are learning about meta prompting and negative prompting. So these are techniques you can use to improve the way you work with these language models. So a meta prompt is when you can use one model to prompt another one, essentially, and improve your prompt. And then a negative prompt is where you basically, it's often used for image generation. It's where you're asking it to not, when you're creating an image, you don't want these certain features to appear.
Right.
So I think any kind of any medical writers out there should try and learn these techniques. I think it's going to be useful in the near future.
I guess what I was trying to get at was a year, I mean, certainly a year or so ago, maybe a bit more, but prompt engineering was suddenly the buzzword.
Yeah.
Everyone was going to become a prompt engineer. There was all sorts of fun being had with sort of job descriptions and salaries attached for
Yes.
prompt engineers. And I get the sense that's all died down. I mean, prompt engineering is still a term, and you've touched on how it's being used. But as a medical writer, if I was a medical writer, not sure I'm quite so worried about prompt engineering now, because the way the languages work and so on, isn't it becoming more about not having to be a prompt engineer and just asking questions naturally, and the systems are coping better than maybe they did before? I mean, I know there's a sort of a balance in there, but do you see what I'm getting at? So I suppose if I'm a medical writer, do I want to be a prompt engineer?
Yeah. That job has pretty much disappeared. If you look
Right.
at Anthropic and OpenAI, they don't really have prompt engineer listings anymore. So I think, but learning how these models work, I think is really important. I think obviously if you're, a lot of agencies have their own models now, which is important to use. What I tend to do, I set up projects, and so you can feed it with so much information that it gets to kind of know you over time.
Yeah.
And that's how I tend to develop all my tools and do a lot of my work now. So you're not just opening up a new chat each time and asking a question. You've got all that history of context to go with as well.
And you've said, and it's quite clear that lots of companies are developing their own approaches. I mean, specifically, say as a freelance medical writer, you might be working with a number of different clients. I mean, how much of a practical problem is it that each time you work with a new client, they've got their own approach or their own models or something, or does that not matter in the end?
I don't think that's an issue. And in fact, I would encourage people to use lots of different models if you're not happy, because sometimes you go down a sort of a rabbit hole with a certain query. And when you find that happening, I would definitely switch to another model. But medical writers, I think they should be using Perplexity. That's my favorite model for science and research, just because it's much better than the others at finding the right references.
And the referencing, right?
Yeah.
Which has been a big problem, hasn't it? As far as medical writers are concerned, there's quite a few that just go, oh, can't touch AI because it hallucinates and gets the references wrong, which might have been true when we had that first webinar 2 years ago, but isn't true now, sort of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the old days, you'd have to look on PubMed, and you couldn't say like, find me a reference for the mode of action of a drug or something. But now you can in Perplexity. You can just talk to it and it will find you a number of references. So I think it's a real bonus if people aren't using it.
And the speed of development is frightening, isn't it, really? It's just getting better and better, faster and faster.
Yeah, that's right. They think so. Grok 4 came out last week, and they think that the answers are PhD level now for every topic it produces. So that's good.
Could be good.
But obviously that's not creative thinking or reasoning or kind of intellectual thought going on there, but it's still producing very accurate answers, which is great.
Yeah. Just out of interest, have you got any examples? I mean, can I ask this, put you on the spot in your personal life? I mean, do you use AI tools? What do you use? What do you use it for?
I use it for everything. I mean, the biggest use of AI is actually therapy. That they've shown that if you look at the usage, I think it used to be like health or something before, but it's changed now. It's interesting. People are using it a lot for it's like a personal therapist. It's interesting that my kids don't tend to use it. I don't know if they're told at school it's bad or they're just very skeptical of it.
Sorry, to put some context on that, are they youngsters or teens? Or
they range from like 10 to 17. Yeah.
So they're in the teens, right? Okay. So
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, certainly from what I see, and my kids were a little bit older than that, but they're at a uni and so on, and it varies, but some of them are embracing it
yeah.
hugely.
So I'm
And
encouraging
giving the lecturers some
them.
concerns. I mean, I think there's an interesting tussle between what the lecturers, as it were, at the uni want their students to do and what's
Mhm.
happening in reality. And everyone's having to just adjust around a little bit. It's
Yeah,
and I remember, I mean, we're going back to 2 years ago, as I say, when that first webinar came out. I remember at the time the fuss that was being made and educational establishments saying, ye
yeah,
shall not use these. And within
yeah,
weeks, it was just breaking down because people were just doing it anyway. So it turned
yeah,
into more of a narrative of, well, okay, now we need to think about how we as the institution are using it and how we're going to help you and support you and train you to use them to be better at whatever it is you're doing. I think
yeah.
that happened very quickly in the early part of 23, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I remember Oxford and a few other universities banned it altogether.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they tried. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it won't come around again. You know, there's cycles of change. So we'll see what happens. Um, yeah,
So to come back to you and the sort of tools that you're working on, I mean,
yeah.
again, can I be
Mhm.
nosy? I mean, what sort of, have you got more tools worked on?
Sure.
What sort of areas are you looking at that you can actually tell us about?
So I don't like really to stick in one area. So I'm working on. I've got 5 mobile apps now.
Right.
So patiently AI, and then poster lens. So this is one where if you're at a conference, you can just snap a photo of a poster and it will kind of analyze it, summarize it. It will work out kind of future directions, and then you can chat with the poster basically. So you can ask it questions, and I guess it's so you can sort of talk to the author and come up with a clever a clever conversation. Or if you don't have time to talk to the author or they're not even by their poster, you can save it for later, and you've got all
Yeah.
that data. So that's poster lens. And then MedChecker I've been working on for quite a while. So there's 3 versions of that. There's the app, which is just on the ABPI code. There's the main web interface, which searches 11 codes of practice. Basically, you put in a promotional claim and it checks it against one or all of those codes and tells you if it's going to be compliant or not. And if it isn't, it will suggest an alternative claim. And tied with that is a voice assistant now. So you can basically chat with any of these codes and ask it questions. I've got a very simple one called Trial Gen, and this just creates clinical trial names. So people need help with that part. And then the latest one is an app I just released yesterday called Hush Map. And this one it's for people with who are neurodivergent or anyone really who's kind of looking for a quiet place. So it uses AI to it can kind of listen into environments and suggest quiet places. It also gets used to what your preferences are regarding crowds and noise and light. And yeah, so I've just been working on that one too.
Okay.
And then I've got more web apps on my website as well.
And lots more coming. I'm guessing the ideas aren't a difficult thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think yeah, I'm
Just
really into the ideas and the design, and then yeah, putting it all together, which you can do so easily now. You can literally build an app with a prompt these days. It's incredible.
fantastic. Look, I think it's fascinating, and I'll be interested to see what happens over the next year or so. But if anybody's watching this and they're interested, I know I can speak for you and say LinkedIn is an easy way of contacting you, or just shout out your web address because that's where I guess that's where everyone can find all the
Yeah, sure.
information.
So it's pharmatools.ai.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so everybody go and talk to Nick about what he's doing with his apps. Meanwhile, anybody's interested in what I'm doing, Network Pharma TV is obviously the place to go. So come and have a chat or reach out to me, have a chat and have a look at what is now hundreds of videos highlighting all sorts of people, opinions, facts from across the pharma and biomedical industries. So on that note, I'd just like to say thank you very much, Nick. We'll give a little wave and say goodbye. Take care.